Thank you, Mr. Edwards. Now recognize Mr. Alford. You've done very well here. You got in, now you're getting 2 lightning rounds in. And
No, I love it. Thank you. Appreciate that. I love having the second round. We can dig a little bit deeper. And thank you, General Halford, again. I don't know if you covered this because I was in the small business. Did you talk about the local transportation optimization in your testimony?
We did speak a little bit about it, yes.
Can you delve into that? Explain how this works and why, when you did your audit in, I think, Virginia, it showed an 86% of the zip codes affected by the LTO plan were in rural areas, and that service performance went down significantly in the weeks following that. How is that affecting my district in rural Missouri?
Yeah, when the Postal Service decided to do this, basically what it is doing is it used to go, the Postal Service used to go out at the end of every day and pick up mail that had come into the post office during the day, and then bring it back in the evening at night to be run at the processing plant. Oftentimes, at least according to the Postal Service, there wasn't a lot of mail there, and it was costing a good bit of money to do those routes. And so what they have decided to do is, instead of doing that evening route to all of these post offices, they would pick up that mail in the morning when they bring the mail to the carriers to be sorted and delivered. So instead of doing 2 or sometimes more than 2 stops a day at a post office, they're just going to do the 1 in the morning. So what that generally does in many of those locations is add at least a partial delivery day, to some degree a full delivery day on that mail. The Postal Service maintains that the LTO that they did was a pilot project, and they did it in, I believe, 15 locations around the country. And then they filed a service standard change to add a day of a delivery to the service standard for those locations that would be impacted.
Cover that loss.
Yes.
How much money did that save in doing that?
Well, it's just rolled out, I believe, in April, early April. I think they project that there will be several billion dollars of savings annually associated with that, but so far it's just starting. So that's one thing that we will be looking at, is whether or not those savings are being realized as part of this implementation process. But another thing that we'll be looking at is what the service implications of that are, and whether or not the Postal Service is able to do this, provide this service within the 5 days that they have projected that they will be able to meet. So it's a big change in the postal network, something that could have significant implications.
For my last 2 minutes, I want to go back to the workforce issues. I think this is very important for the stability and long-term survivability of the Postal Service. What changes do you recommend we make in that? The hiring process.
Right. I think that the Postal Service really needs to, when they hire, you can hire quickly, but you can hire badly quickly, and that's not helpful. So I think making sure that when they do bring someone on board, that it's someone that understands the nature of the job and is willing to invest in that. The Postal Service, I think, is a bit of a throwback organization. I have a lot of passion for what they do and how they serve rural America, but it's a tough job. Many of these jobs are very physical and they're very labor intensive, and you don't see a lot of jobs like that in America, at least to the scale the Postal Service has nowadays. And so making sure that people understand what they're getting themselves into when they do come into the Postal Service. But it's also a great career if especially for people that may not want to get a college degree straight out of high school. There's a lot of opportunities that the Postal Service can offer to people in that space. So I think engaging.
But they're applying online, and they come in and they accept the job, and they don't know what the job is, and then they quit when they find out how tough it is.
Yes, exactly. And so making sure that it's clear, talking to a supervisor before you show up on day one.
You got to have a face-to-face interview at some point before you.
And having the supervisors be upfront about the job, what it entails, how much they're going to need to work. Many of these incoming people have to work, 6 days in a row every week or things like that. It's a tough job.
Mr. Chair, may I ask one more question? Thank you. Appreciate that. Look, I know the Postal Service is provided for under the Constitution. I don't think should ever be privatized. But are there things that you're looking at in the private sector, processes at Amazon? I mean, you can get things at your doorstep like that. UPS. Are you looking at these and trying to adopt the best practices so that we can have the best postal service in the world?
We're looking to see whether the Postal Service is doing those things, exactly what you're saying, in our oversight efforts, trying to make sure that the Postal Service is looking
Are they?
outside. Maybe inconsistently. I think in some places they are. I think in some places they could do a better job of looking at private sector best practices and implementing them within their organization.
Because I get the feeling that they don't want to look at that and compare themselves with someone who might be doing a better job. But we each do that. I mean, I look at Ranking Member Hoyer, how I can be a better statesman. We've got to look at our best practices, whether it's our prison system that we're involved in appropriating, whether it's how we function as a body here on Capitol Hill. But I applaud your efforts and your oversight, and we're behind you, and we want to help. And with that, I yield back. Thank you.